the possibility of a sex trafficking investigation, sex trafficking related charges. If we go to December 2023, there was a woman who accused Combs and former Bad Boy Entertainment president Harvey Pierre and another person of sex trafficking and gang raping her when she was 17 years old. There was a Jane Doe who says that she was flown from Michigan to New York City, supplied with drugs and alcohol, and then
All right, y'all. So there's a lot of allegations being put on Diddy right now, and I wouldn't pass any of them. Like after Cassie came out, boy, everything went to the left with him. See, that's what happens when you cheat your way to the top. And I'm gonna say cheat your way to the top because what a lot of people fail to realize, right? He also was a victim at one point, but he chose to keep being. He went from a victim to a victimizer.
then assaulted by all three men at Combs' recording studios. Now, Combs, by the way, has always denied the allegations. And in fact, in response to one lawsuit, had posted, I believe it was on Instagram, enough is enough. The last couple of weeks, I've sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do. And he goes on to say, did not do this. Now, again, that was in relation to a lot of these lawsuits being filed. But when we're talking about sex trafficking, Tracy, and we're talking about the Southern District of New York possibly initiating this search warrant, where does your mind go in terms of what we might be looking at in terms of potential charges, potential allegations, and how it's connected to New York?
So I absolutely believe, and again, simply my hypothesis, he is innocent until proven guilty, that he will be arrested and well indicted on sex trafficking charges. I have no doubt about.
We all know he's guilty. And yes, we know that is innocent until proven guilty. It's just that too many people have come out throughout the years. I could honestly say that I think Wendy Williams was one of them. I was little when Wendy Williams was saying a lot of this stuff about these celebrities and much more. They were saying that she was crazy. Like, yo, now that I'm older, I understand a lot of the stuff that she was exposing. Now I can really honestly say I know what she's talking about.
That, and I do believe that he was most likely the kingpin of this.
Hmm.
These girls, what that tells me, if it's out of the Southern District of New York, is this is spanning multiple states, and that he is trafficking or allegedly trafficking girls across multiple states, across the United States. This isn't just an isolated incident in one location. And so I have heard things as well about his Hamptons parties and things happening in those Hamptons parties as well. So I suspect more evidence may come out as a result of that. But these are extremely serious charges. And
Yeah.
part of me too is frustrated by somewhat the complacency, right, of the entertainment industry as a whole.
It's crazy because that boxer Ryan Garcia, he's been repeating. And you know what's crazy? I haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks since he made that last live. It's been I'm not sure if it's been like a month or a week. I know I haven't heard from him for a minute. It's just the same videos repeating over and over on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. But he also said it. There's more than one Epstein Island.
In this. And I think sometimes people fly under the radar for a long time, like Epstein did as well, because people are scared. People want to still climb the ranks, and we're doing it all the while sort of sacrificing the safety of these young victims or girls that are involved in this, and that is deeply troubling.
Hmm.
Before we get into more of this, I hear you, and I think, it's really, really frightening to think about. I mean, I read all these allegations and the lawsuits, and I've never heard anything like it. And obviously, we don't know exactly where this investigation's going. But if Combs is charged with federal crimes here, but he's not in the country, and he's actually in a country or a jurisdiction where there's no extradition agreement, how do you get him back? What do federal authorities do?
Hey, babe, you want to go to a show tonight? Don't worry, it's included.
Question, and I looked up just because I was curious actually about Antigua. Looked up just because I was curious actually about Antigua. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. Some I do, some I don't. But we do have an extradition treaty with them. Right now, though, because of the public nature of this, I have a very hard time believing that a country would allow his plane to land with him on it in their country. They don't have to let him land if they don't want to. And so I think that it would be very difficult for him to be able to land in an inhospitable country simply because they don't want him. We do have extradition treaties with more countries than I think people would think. And typically, they will send folks back to us as long as we take the death penalty off of the table. And I don't believe that this is a death penalty case. It's Southern District of.
Sure, another rich celebrity. And what's crazy is that something should have been done about this, but in my opinion, I feel as though that when Cassie came out, she gave them something they needed, something they really needed, and they went after him. That's all they needed was whatever she gave them. Because listen, man, after she said what she said, yo, ooh, Lord.
Of New York. And so I believe that whether we have an extradition treaty or not with whatever country he may or may not go to, they will send him back.
And talk to me about what you think they have in terms of.
Will they send him back? Let me see real quick what these comments says. Yeah, it's Diddy's karma. His reputation has been ruined for a long time. Yes, it has. 50 Cent has been talking about it for years. That's a fact. She nailed it. The entertainment industry needs a reckoning and has needed it for years. Yes, it has. They've been trying to normalize this sick behavior in Hollywood music world since the beginning. They get away with it because of their power, but it's a new day. Hollywood, oh, it's the most disgusting. Oof.
Of a case because you say they want to preserve the evidence for a potential prosecution against either him or someone else. There's a criminal case building, but they had to have probable cause for the search warrant to be issued. And I wonder, I mentioned some of the interviews. They wouldn't have had enough to try to arrest him first and then do the raid, or they need the raid first to see what's at the property before they can build a case and build charges and then arrest him. Talk to me about the timeline of how this typically works in terms of if we're seeing.
Yo, they must have had a lead. Somebody said something, and in my opinion, it was Cassie, and she gave something like this. This happened only months after the court situation with him and her. After the separation, after her allegations, like, come on, y'all.
A raid on several properties. Does that in conjunction with an arrest? Does that come before an arrest? Does that, how does it typically work?
Typically, Jesse, it's in conjunction with an arrest. But I started thinking about this a little bit more last night, and I was thinking that if he has videos or his associates have videos and they are attempting to distribute those of young male children or female children, that means that a child is in imminent danger. And so part of me wonders if this was done to stop that, and that they will get to the arrest obviously at some point, because as you mentioned, typically these warrants are served and there's usually an indictment that goes hand in hand with that at the same time. So in my opinion, it's not unheard of. It's just a little.
So I have a question. If she says no country will take him because they don't want him, where in the world did he go to the run? Where did he run off to? Like, because they say they spotted him here, they spotted him over there. Like, at first I thought one of the ladies said that they spotted the nigga, the man in Bermuda. Like, come on. But I think it's somewhere in the Caribbean called Burley. but it was his jet over there while he was in Los Angeles or somewhere. I forgot where it was. But I'm gonna do a reaction to that video.
Little bit unusual. We don't
Right.
typically see this. Anytime we did raids at the FBI of this nature, we also had an arrest warrant for the individual as well. And so it is unusual, but I don't want to say it's unheard of. And again, I'm just speculating, but part of me wonders if this was still actively being distributed. And if it is, they need to shut that down immediately.
Were you surprised at the response that we saw from Douglas Wigdorf? This is a lawyer for Cassie Ventura and one of the Jane Does in response to reports of this search warrant that was issued on Sean Combs. Now, remember, Cassie Ventura settled with Sean Combs, but the statement says, quote, "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct." Now, again, in light of that settlement doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, man, jail time is a reward for this man. Like, yo, we building caskets up in this bitch.
Mean you're saying Combs is completely innocent. It's you've agreed to resolve the issue. Doesn't
Go with the
shift
commercial.
key on my family.
absolve him of wrongdoing, but to make that statement, I think that's something to be said. Now, again, of course, he's representing someone else that's continually suing Sean Combs. But again, that statement I thought was really interesting. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I thought that statement was interesting. My question about it, though, is did he tip them off? Did he provide them with information? Did Cassie Ventura or any of these individuals involved in these civil suits also provide evidence along with that to build this?
Yeah, I think Cassie did. I think Cassie had something. Cassie found something, and Cassie reported it. Like, if it's true what happened to her, that means this woman got fed up. But what's crazy is, right, she was groomed into this. What I don't hear a lot of people saying is, right, this girl was first Diddy's son's girlfriend. Then he ended up being with her. I guess he waited 2 years and then got with her when she was of age, allegedly. Right? Like, come on, like she was young when Puffy got her. And my thing is, like, at first it was probably fun and games to her until she realized what she got herself into, maybe. And then she opened up her eyes, and like she tried to figure out. She figured out what a lot of people couldn't: how to get away from him.
Criminal case, because obviously those two things are separate. So in my opinion, in listening to that statement, it actually sounds like maybe they did. And that's incredible that they did that, because I believe that Cassie Ventura was absolutely a victim of pretty horrific things. And if she was able to document all of that and provide evidence, then that absolutely would go to building his criminal case.
It's so crazy to think about this. I mean, again, and I'm not surprised by that connection to New York, because I go back to Little Rod Jones, and he said he was assaulted at different places, including in New York. So again, what can we expect next to happen as this story develops? And I imagine it's going to develop quite rapidly.
I agree with you. I think it's going to develop quite rapidly as well. I think the next thing that will happen is an indictment of P. Diddy. That's what I think, and that he will be taken into custody hopefully soon, at some point. But honestly, I'm not sure. This is, like I said, a little bit unusual, and that there isn't an indictment yet, although I think one may be forthcoming.
What about other individuals? Because remember, going back to one of the lawsuits, there was an allegation there were violations of the TVPA, the Trafficking and Victims Protection Act, big law aimed at fighting against domestic and international human slavery, and they were filing a civil action with respect to it. But you're basically saying these minors are engaging in commercial sex acts. I would imagine that if this is a really big operation, we could potentially see arrests of other individuals connected to the rapper, right?
So I have a question. During this raid, Did they find that little girl that he adopted and the 8 others that he allegedly adopted? Like, where are these kids at? Where's that little girl?
I agree. I think we will probably see the arrest of one or both of his sons because I believe that they, based on evidence in cases that we've seen in the past from a civil perspective, they have been allegedly involved in this. But at the same time,
Let me ask y'all a question, right? In my opinion, their sons could have something to do with it because how is it that his son's girlfriend ended up being his dad's wife? Like, as his son, if I was his son and I'm a woman, I would love to hear all y'all male perspectives. I would be mad as hell at my dad. Like, damn, like you sat here, I was with her. Like, Pops, what is you doing? Like, you twice her age, 3 times her age. Like, Grandpa still think he got game. Hey, this is shut up. Like, I believe so. I believe they have parts in it. Like, they would sit here, catfish them, and I say catfish them because they would make them think that they're gonna be with them, and then somehow is with the dad they end up being with. So yeah, that's a form of catfishing. For those of y'all that don't know, go do your research.
too. I think that there may be a lot of people who have associated with him in his circle that are probably scared right now because they may have had some involvement in this as well. And so, in my opinion, I think they will start at the top, obviously arresting.
They shall all go. Listen, man, I feel as though like Jay-Z's gonna go down. I think he's next. But there's this medium on TikTok, and she says that before Jay-Z, it's gonna be Justin Bieber. I would love to hear y'all opinions. Who do y'all think is gonna be next? Jay-Z, Justin Bieber? Like, who's next on the list? I'm gonna find out.
Diddy or his sons. And from there, in my opinion, they may try to plea. I don't think he's going to completely avoid jail time or anything like that
Right.
if he's indicted, but maybe they will try to plead to get names of other individuals that are associated with this. But again, completely my hypothesis, Jesse.
And I'll leave on this. There was reporting, there was an allegation that Combs may have been allegedly harassing Mr. Jones
Hmm.
because of that lawsuit that he filed. Jones alleges that Combs sent agents to intimidate his 8-year-old
Damn, for all of y'all that thought that Orlando Brown was tripping, does he seem that crazy now?
daughter and the mother of his child and his ex-wives. So you talk about the imminence of this raid. You talk about the manpower put forward by this raid. If that is true, and again, we don't know if it's connected to the lawsuit in any way, but that's something else to think about, right?
100%. He has a pretty long documented history of threatening individuals and asking them to, I guess, clean up his mess or clean up his dirty work, if you will. And so that is not at all surprising to me. And I do assume that individuals who may have been involved in speaking out or testifying in any of these civil cases may also be awarded some type of security and protection as well.
Tracy
Hmm.
Walder, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate
All right, guys. So on that note, what are y'all opinions? Like, that was a lot. But I do got a lot of questions. Let me know what y'all think about the video. Leave your comments down below. What are y'all opinions about everything that was just being said?